Hey, what's up, all you cool cats and kittens? Welcome to Rogan and Runescape. This is a Rogan review of Tim Dillon episode, and I just want to say real quick that I'm looking for people to help me with these Rogan reviews. I got plenty help with Runescape content, but it would be really nice if there's someone else that's loves Rogan, loves the whole Death Squad community, and would be willing to review these episodes with me. Message me at roganandrunescape@gmail.com, and we could do that. I love Rogan. It just sometimes it's a lot, it's a lot on my plate to do all these by myself. So looking for some people to help out. That'll be awesome. Anyways, enjoy the short review. Thanks. What's up, guys? Welcome to Rogan and Runescape. Today is a review of the Tim Dillon episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the Joe Rogan Experience. The episode is number 1457. So they kind of start out like a minute or two in. They were talking about, Joe asked if Tim Dillon had smoked weed, and he was like, yeah, this is back when I was like 13 and I discovered Alex Jones. And Joe was like, oh, it wasn't really weed that was your problem, right? He was like, no, it was more of the cocaine, the pills, and the alcohol. And he was saying to not fuck with cocaine if you got problems going on. From what I understand from the research I've done, it's a very, it is a very addictive substance, and it's best to not dabble with it, just because if you are a type of person that's like, okay, I like it, I'm going to get it this week and next week and the week after that, you'll go broke quick, son. You'll go broke quick. About how, with this whole Corona stuff, how a lot of our freedoms and stuff are going to be restricted. And it's like, are they going to give it back? And Tim Dillon's like, of course they're not going to give it back. They didn't do that with 9/11, with the passing of the Patriot Act, which is true. I mean, if you look into the Patriot Act and some of the things that got taken away then, and just the nature of governments, we got to be really careful about what rights we allow to be taken away, because a lot of times getting them back isn't going to be some easy thing. What happened to all these Chinese students that were protesting against the government, and like how convenient of timing with this COVID stuff? With China being able to like crack down and say like people can't meet up, and even here there can't be groups bigger than 10. It's like that's convenient against protesting and against your liberties. Brings up a pretty good point. He's talking about how all these people are working in grocery stores and how they're exposed to the virus. Some of them can't wear masks, I guess, because it's like against the policy, or the manager might not want them to scare, the customers and stuff, the custies. But it's like, he was saying that, as a country, we should do something for these people. Now, I don't know what we should do, but I would say that it's definitely very honorable and noble that these people are working. I mean, of course, they probably want to have money for food and be able to afford rent, but it's like every time I go in the grocery store, half the time I go to the grocery store, I'll tell the people, like, thanks for working, just because it's like, I love food. I want them to stay open. And yeah, there maybe should be some incentive for these people that like are working around the food and stuff. 43 seconds, Tim Dillon was talking about hydroxychloroquine and how it is working. And your boy Rogan and Runescape told y'all first, weeks ago, maybe even months ago, to be drinking that tonic water, which contains quinine in it, vitamin C from lemons, and zinc, which is exactly what they talk about. And if you're not doing it, you should be doing it. Just get some tonic water. It contains quinine in it. Quinine is actually, alright, so hydrochloroquine and chloroquine are just synthetic forms of quinine. Quinine is like a root of a plant. So get on that shit, man. I'm not going to break it down all right now, but look into it. Look into quinine and how the British were using it to boost their immune systems and stuff back when they would go into jungles. That's why they're called limeys. They're called limeys because they would take their tonic with lime to boost their immune system. Fight the shit off. If you got a healthy immune system, then your body has a better chance of, even if you come in contact with the coronavirus, fighting that shit off. About Bill and Melinda Gates around, around 39 minutes and 54 seconds. And you can see Joe starts to get a little defensive. Now, is this because he's defensive because he doesn't want to be sued, or he doesn't want to be assassinated by these people if he speaks out about Bill Gates? Or is it because he's annoyed about hearing about, the whole line of connection people are making that, like, for example, Bill and Melinda Gates have been funding this institute in England called the Purbright Institute, which researches on the COVID. I think they have a patent on the vaccine. They've been researching the COVID virus. Now, they claim that they've only been working with the avian form are bats even avian? I don't know. Are they mammals? They're like a mammal bird? But anyways, yeah, look into the Purbright Institute. I think it's Pirbright. Look how Bill and Melinda Gates have been funding it. Also, if you do look it up, you'll find loads of websites trying to basically call you crazy for looking it up. But those same websites that are trying to call you crazy will also at the bottom admit that Bill and Melinda Gates do fund Purbright Institute and that they do work with the coronavirus and that they do own the patent. Bill Gates is he's an oddball, man. I remember watching a TED Talk live a couple months back where they were talking to him, and they were talking to him about the coronavirus, and no one was smiling. Like, the guy interviewing was not smiling or laughing, and they would ask a question about the coronavirus, and Bill Gates would just have this weird fucking grin, and it actually even made it onto meme pages and Instagram. I watched this a couple months ago, and a couple weeks ago I saw there being meme pages about, like, Bill Gates when talking about COVID and, like, how he's smiling and shit like that. He's a weird dude, man. He's been talking about depopulation for a long time. You can find videos about him talking about decreasing the population. He even said years ago how it wasn't going to be a nuclear threat that was going to be something that we need to worry about. It was going to be some sort of biological threat. So there's another connection. Also, he's talking about, like, microchipping people and stuff like that. So look into it a little bit, man. Jamie pulls up an article saying Gates Foundation accused of dangerously skewing aid priorities by promoting corporate globalization. And Rogan gets pissed. He's like, no, Jamie, that's not what we're talking about. He doesn't get pissed, but his jimmies definitely get rustled. You can definitely tell that. So around 52 minutes, they start talking about this comedian named Sebastian and how he has a cousin also named Sebastian. And these guys were wearing wearing the fucking masks, whatever they're called, the particulate masks. And they went to the comedian Sebastian's cousin, who had the same name, thinking that it was the comedian, the millionaire. And they tried to rob the dude. They had, like, duct tape and stuff like that. And Sebastian's cousin knew how to fight, ended up beating one of the dude's asses, and then killed the other guy. And it's like, holy shit. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, before hearing the story, I was like, I'm pretty amazed that there aren't more coronavirus mask related crimes, people robbing shit with these masks. But I guess here's, evidence of one. The Rich murder, I'm not very knowledgeable about what happened there, but apparently there's some dude that was given some information to WikiLeaks, and then he was found dead. They called it, like, just a robbery, but his wallet wasn't missing, and they didn't take anything, and it just happens to be that he gave information to WikiLeaks. Stuff like that, man. I mean, it's just like with the Clinton kill count. You got to wonder, like, how many of these people really are actually committing suicide with 2 gunshot wounds to the head? I mean, how possible is that? It's not bad to question what we have been told is reality. You just have to have common sense and be able to think for yourself so that you don't go down a rabbit hole one way or another. It's a pretty funny part around 1 hour and 20 minutes and 30 seconds where they're talking about lying and how, the best thing to do is not to lie. I mean, if you love someone, you don't lie to them. But then Tim Dillon's like, no, sometimes you do lie to someone if you love them. And he goes about, tells a story, which I'll let you experience for yourself. But I think that it's kind of, I guess partially true, maybe, like white lies. Like, you don't want to be lied to about, like, the reality of the world. But if someone's like, if they're super excited about, like, a new car and they just bought it, there's nothing they can do to return it, and they have some funky color that you don't like, so what do you think? Sometimes you gotta, like, be like, oh, yeah, it's different, because you don't want to fucking, like, make them feel bad. Or if, like, a girl gets a new haircut, someone in your family, and everyone thinks it's kind of like, oh, God, what has she done? Maybe she likes it, and maybe you do have to lie a little bit. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, Tim Dillon starts talking about Haight-Ashbury and Laurel Canyon. this book that they're reading about, talking about all the weird connections about it, and basically like the government experimenting with mind control substances, like what they thought was mind control substances like LSD and stuff. And it is really interesting because there's a lot of weird things that do come out of those areas. For example, I'm pretty sure that there's something to do with the Doors and Jim Morrison. For example, I know his dad was a Navy admiral, but one of my family members actually brought this up today, that Jim Morrison's dad was the one that fired the first shot in the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And it's just kind of interesting if you choose to look into it yourself. I don't really remember much of it, but yeah, just type in like Laurel Canyon conspiracy, or that's probably the best thing to type in. By the way, what godly of a band is the Doors? Does that even make sense? What godly? No. What gods are the Doors as far as a band? I freaking love the Doors. Love Me 2 Times, LA Woman, People Are Strange, Peace Toad, Riders on a Storm, This Is the End. There's just so many good songs by them. You're Lost, Little Girl. God, the Doors are just such a good band. Oh shit, Joe starts talking about Charles Manson conspiracies and how they were telling like the prosecutor to not mention Charles Manson at all in the trial. I'm not very familiar with that. Out of all conspiracies, honestly, the ones that interested me the least were probably Flat Earth and Charles Manson. Like, I don't know why, but I do know that like Jim Jones, there's a lot of weird things to Jonestown, like where he got his money, like his CIA connections, and how Jonestown itself could have been, or probably was, this basically test ground for the government to see how they could control people and how people responded to being controlled. So look into the Jonestown conspiracy. That's very interesting. Also, they found that like a majority of the people, while some of them did drink the Kool-Aid, a majority of the people, the bodies that they found, the corpses had needle pricks in their necks where they were injected with this shit. It's like, who's injecting them? It's on a conspiracy streak right now. They're talking about Operation Paperclip, which is, of course, if you don't know, after World War II, when the Nazi scientists were disbanded, the Soviet Union took half and the United States took half of these Nazi scientists, and like basically directly formed NASA after World War II with these scientists. And you really got to question, which obviously the evidence points towards the fact that they didn't actually go away. They just went to different places. So you got to wonder, like, are these regimes still happening? Are there some like darker arts going on? Look into Operation Paperclip if you don't know. It's really weird. Plus, the other thing with the Nazis is there's like Joseph Minglee, the Angel of Death. He was one of the Nazi scientists that performed all these like weird experiments on like twins and just did these torturous experiments on these poor kids. And I think that was his favorite, was to use with kids. And Joseph Minglee, the Angel of Death, I'm pretty sure if I'm not fucking this up, but he moved to South America. They found his signatures in different in this country in South America. Another thing is that there's this whole town, you can Google this, there's this like whole town where there's all these like twins and like German looking people in South America. And it's like, shit, man, did Hitler get away? Was it really his body? I don't know, bro. Hour 29 minutes in, they start talking about vitamins. Joe's talking about how he believes that a healthy immune system is your best defense against these viruses and just, I guess, everyday life. And going back to what I was saying about taking zinc and vitamin C from lemons and quinine. I love taking vitamins. I feel like some people are like, oh, it's a waste of money, man. Like, you're just going to pee out what your body doesn't need. And it's like, okay, well, unless you're going to the doctor on an average basis and you're requesting for your blood to get drawn and to see what deficiencies you have, then you're not going to know what vitamin deficiencies you have. It's not like you can just feel like, you can't feel in your body and be like, oh, I need some zinc, or oh, I need some vitamin D. No. And they're not expensive at all, man. You can get a 100-count bottle for like $4. Like I just picked up some D3 vitamins, and I think it was like $4 for 100 of them. It's really not that bad. Like, go for it. You know, every day I'll take turmeric, however you pronounce it, a multivitamin, fish oil, L-lysine, zinc. What else is it? Trying to think. There's some other things I take, man. Just can't think about it right now. It's like, oh shit, vitamins must not be helping. I think that might actually be it. I think that was the list I take daily. 2 hours and 26 minutes, 14 seconds. Joe was saying how people were always talking about, you know, what matters is, you know, family and love. And he's like, well, guess what? What matters is that. Like, that is what really matters, is family and love first. And that is just so true. Like, it's so accurate. You know, the way that I look at my life now, I used to look at my life as like family first, second friends, then goals. Now I look at life as family first, goals second, and then friends. And it's, you know, it's harder to understand if you don't come from a big family, or if, you know, if your family wasn't as like embracing as some others are. But it really is what matters, guys. And that's the whole thing about like this Rogan Runescape community. I try to make it just like, you know, family and love. You know, don't flame each other. Don't be dicks, you know, unless you're just joking around. Because that's not what matters in life. What matters is, you know, just having like a, you know, little group of close-knit people and treating them well. So well said, Joe. Well said. Funny to see all these celebrities talking about like how they're like meditating and like organizing around the house and stuff. It's like, dude, you have $20 million in the bank. Like, getting bored, you know, throughout quarantine is not something that you got to worry about. And also, like, you know, what are you like giving some sort of like speech to people? You know, it's like, dude, just chill, man. We don't need to figure out how to entertain ourselves from Garth Brooks or fucking Kim Kardashian or something like that. It's like, just sit back and enjoy your millions. I also find it hilarious, just the normies, like on Instagram and Snapchat and stuff like that, going crazy, like, you know, oh, when is this going to be over? And I'm so bored and shit like that. And it's just like, I'm not, bro. I'm playing RuneScape, man. I'm working, coming home, playing RuneScape and doing the pod. Like, you know, all these people are just like getting drunk as fuck, drinking every day. You're just talking about how bored they are and everything like that. And it's like, y'all need to get some hobbies. Like, get some hobbies and you will be less bored and you'll be more content with yourself. Like, you don't see me coming home. You don't see me being like, oh man, I wish there was something I could do. You know, I wish there was something that would keep me busy. Because there's always something that keeps me busy.
Hey.
What's up, dude? A random Luke Mack appeared. Oh shit. Well, that happened. And I think it's a day or two since I was doing this before. Man, these things are really hard to fucking keep up with. But anyways, so at 2 hours and 26 minutes, they start talking about like two-party system and how really people need to realize that it's not the two-party system that's going to serve them. It's not the two-party system that's going to fix anything. And that's the truth. I hope I didn't already talk about this because it is a day or two later, but I don't think I did. So for real though, it's like I've talked about this many times before on other episodes of this show. It's like, you know, if you go into a supermarket and they only have two options of drinks, Pepsi or Coke, or only two types of cereal, that's not freedom. You know, what freedom is freedom is having multiple options, not just two. So for a country that takes pride in being like the freest in the world, self-proclaimed or whatever, why don't we have more than a two-party system when it's obviously rigged? If you only have two things and they're funded by the same people, the same corporation, the same super PACs, it's like, come on, man. It should be super obvious. So around this time, Joe was talking about how it solidifies the things that are really important and how people are always saying, oh, it's family and love that are really important. But he says those things are what's really important. It really is, like, what, you know, the whole bigger picture is that family and love for yourself and other people really is what's important. Now, I know I've talked about this on a previous episode of Rogan RuneScape, but that was because I had already listened to this. But, you know, it is so true, man. People worry about the clothes that they wear. They worry about, you know, their car. You know, they're worried about what other people think. But really, the things that matter is just loving yourself and other people. Treat people well. I mean, it's so cliche, but like if everyone treated each other well and had those two, you know, goals in mind of family and love, then the whole world would be literally a better place. So simplify your life and just think about the simple things that really do matter. And, you know, if you don't have a big family, you know, Some people don't. I have a big family, but cousins and aunts and shit like that. But if you don't have a big family, you can either create a family when you're ready. Don't jump into it. That's one of the biggest mistakes you could ever make, really. It's just jumping into it with some girl you think is going to be with you for the rest of your life. And then you're tied to her through child support, making child support payments. I don't mean that, but, when you're ready, create a family. Or your friends, man. It's your community. I mean, your neighbors can be your family. Your friends can be your family. You got to be careful, of course, for these snakes. Watch out for these snakes, man. Like Slayton was saying. But, if you got some trustworthy people, that's, your family. And as long as you're not putting yourself out there and, risking things, being super vulnerable. Like, for example, this community is my extended family, Rogan Runescape. That was the whole goal, was to make this like a family. And it is. We have, about 30 people, in the Discord and shit like that are just like, no one's like fighting with each other. It's not that... Of course, people have their favorites. People like some more than others. But the whole thing is to treat other people well, so they know that they're not going to come in here and start trashing people, because that's not what it's about. There was a pretty funny part where they were talking about like, so what would you do if you had a mansion but like no one could come over? And he was like, what if nobody liked you? And Tim Dillon was like, if you have a mansion, people are going to like you. Like, it's one of the benefits of having a mansion is that people automatically like you. And now people will like you, but they like you for what you have. They like you for what you have to offer them. So that's, another reason why it's super important to just boil things down to what matters, just treating people well and treating yourself well, making that your primary goal, because people will always fucking, come to you if you have money or, shiny objects. Like if you have a shiny car, and shiny watches, girls, yeah, they'll be attracted to it like birds. But the thing is, it's like that might not work out in the long term, if you don't, it might not work out in the long term because they were concerned about the money rather than loving you. And that's just not what you want. You don't want someone that only wants you for your money, unless that is what you want. And I mean, if good luck, more power to you, whatever. But not all of us are like millionaires and have that luxury. So it's just like, fuck all the material shit, man. They were talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm, and shout outs to that show, Larry David. They were talking about how there's an episode where Larry David's wearing like a MAGA hat and people went and talked to him. I haven't seen that episode, but I've seen a lot of the stuff in the past, and that show is great, man. That show really is funny as fuck. And there's not many TV shows that I enjoy because I just get too distracted by how fake it is or how materialistic or whatever. I'm not a TV person. I like documentaries, more so. Documentaries and podcasts for the most part, but that show is fucking great. Getting to the end of the podcast, Joe was talking about how there's a lot of people that are, before this whole coronavirus thing, were not like not being able to, handle their lives very well. They had a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, talk about their issues a little bit too much, like when they're not really big issues or anything like that. And you got to take those people into consideration with this whole coronavirus thing going on, that they're, in the population too. And basically, all I brought this up for is that entertain yourselves. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with being a people person. I love, certain people. But the thing that's awesome about this coronavirus situation for RuneScapers is that I would have to guess for the most part, a lot of us, spend a lot of time at home anyways. This is not really too much different for us. Now, is it productive? You could argue that one way or another. Games wise, it's not something tangible that you can show for unless you're making money through it, through like a Twitch stream or YouTube account or something like that. But my point is that find things that entertain you. I actually brought this up, before earlier in the podcast, so I'll end it with this. Find hobbies, things that you're good at, and don't rely on going to the bar all the time or external means to make you happy, because, as the Buddha said, and I'm not going to quote this very correctly, but roughly what he said was that all the pain and suffering that people experience is from looking for satisfaction outside of themselves, for looking for happiness on the outside, when the happiness has always been on the inside. All right, guys. Peace. Oh, yeah. Hit me up at roganandrunescape@gmail.com. Peace.